Hi all. So I'm recording this 20 minutes demo towards a session on engineering leadership. Thank you. Now, starting off the session. Good evening, folks. I welcome you all to one of the most important topic in engineering. It's called engineering leadership. Engineering leadership is about more than managing code or systems. It is the discipline of enabling people, technology, and business outcomes to move forward together. Modern engineering leaders are expected to blend deep technical insight with strong decision making, clear communication, and the ability to inspire high performing teams. In a world where product cycles are faster and customer expectations are higher, engineering leadership becomes the catalyst that turns complex challenges into scalable, reliable, and innovative solutions. Today, we'll explore what it truly means to lead with an impact in engineering environment. Starting with a brief introduction about myself, I have a total of 13 years of experience into software engineering in various capacities as an individual contributor, tech lead, manager, and senior manager. My name is Siddharth Singh. Currently, I'm working as senior engineering manager with Paytm. I've been working with Paytm for around 8 years, with almost 5 years into technical leadership roles. I take care of two teams in Paytm. First is the platform team of e-commerce promo. So each time someone discovers, applies, or gets UPI cashback or a discount, that happens to the system which we have developed. Also, I own the Paytm Gold vertical, which contributes over $50 million in monthly GMV to the company. Prior to that, I have two stints, one with Times Internet and the other one with Samsung R&D. Talking about my alma mater, so I have done BTech plus MTech. It was a dual degree course for me, information technology from Triple IT Gwalior. I've also done an executive MBA, so it was a course for working professionals from IIM Lucknow. You can see a pictures of my associations with the current and my past over here in the slides. Now presenting the today's agenda. So for today, we'll cover why engineering leadership is needed. We'll do a small question poll to unravel why a high potential manager might actually be performing low at times. I will present a small case about Emma, a tech lead who was promoted into a management role, but there was a sharp decline in performance later. What corrective actions were taken so that there were dramatic improvements in her? So I have masked this particular name Emma. It does not correspond to the real name, and for secrecy or for not, delving into too much details, I have masked this name as Emma. We'll also cover about the Eisenhower matrix. We will talk about the learning objectives. We shall also cover the 3R framework. For effective teamwork, which is essential for any leader of management, we'll cover the three pillars of social interaction. We'll also cover the three always of senior leadership to help you move to the next steps in leadership. So let's start discussing about leadership from the lens of a leader. How would you handle and improve upon a low performing but high potential manager on your team? So first of all, we formally start with the topic. Let's do a reality check. What do you think is the most common reason managers underperform? Is it the lack of skills? Is it the lack of clarity? Is it the lack of support from the ecosystem in which you're working? Is it a wrong role fit? Or is it personal issues or burnout? Which among these do you believe is the reason for the managers being underperforming? I'll share across a Slido. It will have a link. You can just present your answers in that, and we'll talk in details about the findings for this particular session amongst the whatever participants we have. For the purpose of demo, moving on to the next slide. Why even study engineering leadership? Every leader eventually faces this situation. A manager who was once strong or shows high potential starts underperforming. Delivery slips, the team becomes frustrated, and cross-functional partners start losing confidence. How do you how do you respond in this particular situation or scenario becomes critical? Do you coach, reset expectations, adjust scope, or escalate this situation? Learning a structured, fair, and empathetic approach to diagnosing and coaching such managers will help you prevent team disengagement, recover execution reliability, retain high potential talent in your team, and build your credibility as a senior leader. This is a real world leadership. This is a real world leadership skill that you will use throughout your career, especially as you move to roles where you manage another managers. All right. Now, starting off with the case study, Emma case study. 3 years ago, I hired Emma. I had a manager, Emma. I didn't hire her at that point in time. She was already hired. So she was brilliant technically. She was promoted from tech leader into a management leadership role by me myself. But she was struggling badly after moving into this particular position. Delivery was slipping, the team was frustrated, and she was losing confidence. The method I used to turn around that particular thing was that particular scenario is what I'll teach you all today. Let's activate your prior experience. Learning is best when you relate it with your past experiences. Think of someone high potential who struggled. What made it challenging to coach them? What did you try? What questions did you had, or what questions did you wish you had clarity on, which would have made it easier or wiser for the other person? Now, talking about the Eisenhower matrix. So, Eisenhower matrix is a time management method that categorizes tasks based on their urgency and importance. Tasks are divided into four quadrants: urgent and important. Do all these tasks now. Put your most efforts on firefighting this. Important but not urgent. Plan and schedule these for later. Solutionize these tasks and put it in a quarterly backlog plan. Tasks which are urgent but not important. Delegate these tasks. Align a self motivated contributor and ask them to give periodic status updates about the progress. If any blocker comes, it should be immediately called out by this particular member. Then, last but not the least, are the tasks which are neither important nor urgent. So, the best strategy to it for these kind of things is just simply drop all these tasks, put your time and energy into something which is much more useful for the company. Now, on the left side, I've jotted down few of the cases which Emma had to deal with on a daily basis, and which were consuming most of her bandwidth. So there were production issues at times in the admin panel. So this particular lady was owning the campaign manager part, so through which you can basically create the different campaigns which will be categorized, or which will be run by different category owners on PTM. So there can be production issue at times. If there is something that impacts across campaign and can lead to burn, that is a fund loss scenario for the company. It is a P0 thing and needs to be done right now. So we'll put it into urgent and important part. So that is something which needs to be done now by her. It cannot be delegated and neither it can be planned, because otherwise it's essentially a business loss for the company. If something is important, now look at the other kind of task. If something is important that potentially impacts a few campaigns, but not all, it can be delegated to other senior folks. These are urgent, but not really important. From manager's direct involvement perspective, Hema or Emma should contribute her task to some other thing, and someone else in her team can basically look after this particular task. And it's a kind of a delegation to whomsoever she delegates a task to. They should, come back to Emma whenever there is a kind of, let's say, blocker, or there is some kind of, like, let's say, discrepancy going. Now look at the third point kind of thing. If something is there that does not have any impact right now, but has been found as a bug and and is not immediately rated on production, communicate directly to the product and the ops team and plan this for a later date. It basically falls under planning stage. Now look at the other parts. So seller panel maker checker. Closing the architecture is a kind of do now because it's urgent and it's important. Because this particular charter, maker checker, that is being talked about, is it's a direct ask from the direct CFO of the company. So it comes from the very top. So this is one of the things that needs to be prioritized. So architecture close is something which is do now. Adding campaign creation validations. There are n number of different types of campaigns. Any person in our team can essentially write these down or jot these down. So these things should fall under delegate plan. Now from the DBA part, there are MySQL queries at times which the MySQL team or the DBA team reports. Essentially, what is to be done is it can be planned. Not everything is P0 over here. There are some kind of patterns which arise, and basis that you can extrapolate. Is this something which is going to really impact your system or not? So I'll put it into planning phase. All call alert checking. Make a framework for external communication. Potentially move few alerts to an external Slack channel. Get campaign owners and ops team added to this. Say external campaign owners ownership. and drop the monitoring. So drop is important. So there are few alerts on which you do not essentially have a control. Let's say the campaign budget breach. Let's say a campaign was started by, let's say, some vertical flights. It was this particular offer could be used only by, let's say, 10 million users in its lifespan, and that particular thing has already happened. Now there is nothing really which can be done if the tech team gets an alert. So it's better to just notify these particular thing, have a framework set up in place so that the campaign owner get notified, and nothing else that needs to be done. The last part that I'll want to talk about is code refactoring. There were a few kind of things wherein from the past releases there were kind of some feature flags which had to be, which had to be cleaned up from the code. So all these kind of things could always be done through a refactoring plan, and this particular thing can be planned for post the maker checker release. So the essential part in all it is the her particular most of her efforts should be going into the P0 thing, which is firefighting around production issues, which is impacting at a wide angle. And the other part is essentially whatever is the ask from the top management that should get fulfilled, which is her most of the time should go into architecture of the maker checker. I'm sure in our audience, many of you have maybe heard about like maker checker. It's kind of a system in which essentially if someone creates something, then there are two eyes on top of it who essentially have to approve this particular system. So using spring state machine, this particular thing was to be done. Now, moving forward with the summary of the learning objectives. By the end of the session, participants will be able to recognize why high potential managers underperform, understand the performance and the potential gap, identify early warning signals, appreciate the organizational impact, diagnose the root cause using the 3R framework. What this 3R framework is, we'll cover in the next slides too. Evaluate role clarity, assess resources and support, understand reality. Conduct an effective reset conversation, communicate expectations clearly, address behavior, not personality, ask the right coaching questions, build a structured 30-day coaching plan, define goals, activities, and metrics, align execution and leadership behaviors, create visibility and accountability, evaluate whether to continue, pivot, or exit, know whether improvement is meaningful or not, or know when improvement is meaningful, make fair, human, and objective decisions, document outcomes appropriately. Documentation is very important part. Apply a repeatable leadership playbook. Use the five-step model in any underperformance scenario, modified for ICs, managers, and senior leader. Apply long-term coaching habits. Now, talking about the 3R framework for diagnosing underperformance, the 3R stand for role clarity. Do they clearly understand what is expected of them? Many managers underperform not because of lack of capability, but because expectations were not communicated clearly. They are unsure of priorities. They don't know what success looks like. They are confused about their responsibilities versus their teams. They were recently promoted but not even given a transition plan. Signs of issues and role clarity. Manager says, I didn't know this was my responsibility. Confusions during 101. Misaligned priorities identified during sprint planning meeting. Over focus on IC work instead of leadership. Resources. Do they have the tools, support, and capacity to perform? Even high potential managers struggle if the environment is stacked against them. Resources here does not only mean budget, it includes time and overload, team size and expectations, training and coaching, cross functional support, access to information. Signs of resource issues: manager is overloaded, constant firefighting, booked by another team or brought by another team, lack of access to the senior leadership, no support and new responsibilities. Reality. Are there personal behavior or systemic issues contributing to the underperformance? This is where you look deeper into personal factors such as burnout, stress, external life issues, behavioral factors, poor delegation, slow decision making, communication gaps, or maybe avoiding conflict, or maybe trying to still be the top of the IC instead of being a leader. Systemic factors, ambiguous company process, constant shifting of priorities, undefined ownership. Signs of reality problems, emotional actions, defensive behavior, sudden drop in confidence. Why does 3R framework work at all? Because it helps leader avoid blaming the person immediately. Instead, you focus and explore environment, expectations, and human factors around. So this builds trust and allows a coaching first approach rather than a punitive one. For role clarity, ask question like, do you clearly understand what success looks like in this role? What are the top three priorities? For resource clarity, ask questions like, do you feel you have support, time, and team capacity to deliver what's expected? For reality check clarity, ask question like, is there anything affecting your performance, either within the company or personally, that I should be aware of? To improve upon teamwork skills in a manager, including you, the three pillars of social interaction are of paramount importance. Pillar one, humility. You are not the center of the universe, nor is your goal. As engineering leaders, humility means recognizing that we don't know everything and we don't even need to. Technology evolves fast, and no one can be an expert in every framework, system, or domain. Humility keeps us curious, open to feedback, and willing to learn from people regardless of their title or experience. It also means being comfortable admitting mistakes early, because hiding them costs far more engineering than acknowledging them. When leaders show humility, teams feel speak teams feel safe to speak up, share ideas, and challenge assumptions, leading to better designs, fewer blind spots, and healthier collaboration. Pillar two is about respect. You genuinely care about the people you work with. Respect is foundational to every engineering team. It means valuing the perspectives, constraints, and contributions of peers, from junior developers to product managers to Q engineers. Respect shows up in every simple day behaviors: listening without interrupting, giving credit openly, reviewing code with empathy, and assuming positive intent. In high pressure environments, respect is what prevents team from turning toxic. When people feel respected, they bring their best thinking, they collaborate more naturally, and they feel ownership of the outcomes. Respect isn't about being nice, it's about recognizing the capability and humanity of every person on the team. Pillar 3, trust. You, you believe others are competent and you let them drive instead of you always taking the ownership. Trust is the engine that powers engineering velocity. Without trust, leaders become micromanagers, decisions bottleneck, and teams lose confidence. Trust means believing others have the skill and judgment to their own work and giving them autonomy to operate. It also means trusting that when things go wrong, people will act responsibly and transparently. Effective engineering leadership isn't about doing everything yourself, it's about enabling others to succeed. When trust is high, teams move forward, solve problems proactively, and innovate more fearlessly because they know their leader supports them. Not talking about the three always of senior leadership. Always be deciding. As leaders grow, their decisions slip from tactical to the strategic. When you move from leading a single team to leading multiple teams, your decision making responsibilities increase dramatically. The nature of those decisions also changes. You're no longer deciding how to implement You're no longer deciding how to implement a feature or which library to use. Instead, you're deciding priorities, direction, trade offs, and long term architecture. Your primary job becomes creating clarity. What are we building? Who are we building for? What should we not do right now? As an engineering leader, you're not the only person solving every technical challenge anymore. You're the person enabling the conditions in which the right decisions be made consistently. You are aligning teams, removing ambiguity, and ensuring everyone knows the direction of travel. In other words, leadership is not about making the right decisions. It's about ensuring the right decisions are being made at the right level. Always believing a strong team should thrive even in your absence. One of the most counterintuitive ideas in engineering leadership is your success is measured by how well your team performs when you're not around. Always believing means intentionally designing yourself out of the critical path. This reduces the risk of becoming a single point of failure a situation wherein the team cannot move forward without you. This involves delegation decision making to the appropriate level, documenting processes and tribal knowledge, creating redundancy in skills and responsibilities, coaching others to step up to your in your absence, fostering a culture where people don't depend on you for every direction. The goal is to build a self-driving team, a team that takes initiative, solves problem independently, and only escalates when necessary. A self-driving team moves fast, has higher morale, and creates more leadership opportunities internally. When you are always believing, you create a resilient, scalable organization, not a fragile one centered around a single person. Always be scaling. Leadership is not static. Your systems, processes, and people must grow with the organization. As companies grow, engineering leaders must continuously adapt. Scaling doesn't need or scaling doesn't just refer to infrastructure or products. It also refers to scaling yourself, your team structure, and your leadership systems. This typically follows a pattern of one described as the spiral of success. Define clear goals, enable strong execution, build repeatable process, develop people and future leaders, improve structure and boundaries, create space to think strategically, and repeat at a larger scale. Every cycle of the spiral brings more complexity, more people, more interdependencies, and higher expectations. Your role is to ensure the organization keeps moving upward, not sideways or downward. That means constantly adjusting how you communicate, how you delegate, how you review work, how do you measure progress, and how teams collaborate. Scaling is not just a one time effort, it's an ongoing mindset always. I think we have passed the 20 minutes barrier, so we'll stop for now. Thank you, everyone.